All right, welcome to this explainer. Let's dive right in, because the 2026 Canadian Grand Prix at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve was, frankly, an absolutely chaotic, thrilling battleground. We literally saw a mesmerizing clash of generations here. Rising teenage stars going wheel to wheel with established motorsport legends. From stunning victories and heartbreaking mechanical failures to some truly baffling strategic blunders, this race just totally reshuffled the entire championship narrative. So let's break down exactly what happened. I mean, just listen to the sheer despair in these words. It feels like the gods don't want me to be in this fight. That is George Russell, speaking after a devastating mechanical failure robbed him of what really looked like a guaranteed fight for the win. It perfectly captures the emotional whiplash of motorsport, you know? You can do absolutely everything right, and the machine simply says no.
Which brings us to Section 1, Antonelli's reign and Russell's heartbreak.
So this was the ultimate tale of two teammates. On one hand, you've got 19-year-old Kimi Antonelli driving with this fearless, youthful energy. He was totally calm under pressure and fought cleanly to secure his fourth consecutive victory. 4 in a row. On the other hand, there's George Russell. He took pole for both the sprint and the Grand Prix, and he was exchanging the lead in this incredible inches-apart duel. But then, on lap 30, absolute catastrophe. His battery and power unit completely failed, shutting down his car and totally vaporizing his hopes for a win.
And because of that tragic DNF, the crucial takeaway here is this number, 43. Kimi Antonelli has now opened up a cavernous 43-point lead over Russell in the championship standings. Just 5 races into the season, and that is a massive mountain for Russell to climb. The title, right now, is very much Antonelli's to lose.
Moving right along to Section 2, Vintage Hamilton and a frustrated Verstappen.
Okay, so Max Verstappen actually claimed 3rd place in Montreal, which is a big deal because it secures the first ever podium for the new Red Bull Ford Powertrains project. But, in classic Max fashion, he wasn't entirely happy. Listen to what he said after the race.
It's way too complex. F1 just needs to be more pure.
Despite getting on the podium, Max is deeply frustrated with these convoluted 2026 engine regulations. He basically feels the complex energy management and battery rules are just way too much to juggle in the cockpit while trying to race.
But the guy who beat Verstappen to 2nd place? None other than Lewis Hamilton. And wow, this was the Lewis that Ferrari has been dreaming of. He delivered his absolute best drive of the season so far, highlighted by a totally brilliant, vintage outside overtake on Verstappen on lap 62. Crossing the finish line just 10.7 seconds behind Antonelli, Hamilton proved without a doubt that his pure racing brilliance is very much alive and well.
All right, Section 3, Rookie Magic from Colapinto and Hadjar.
Get a load of this stat for Alpine's Franco Colapinto. 0 free practice laps. 0! He missed all of Friday's running due to a throttle issue. Going into sprint qualifying totally blind on a damp, green track should have been an absolute disaster. Instead, he drove a brilliantly managed, totally stress-free race to finish P6. That's his best ever F1 finish, proving for sure that his recent form is absolutely no fluke.
And then there's Isaac Hadjar, nicknamed Le Petit Pras. His ascent to the top has been incredibly rapid. F2 runner-up in 2024, an F1 debut in 2025, and now he's sitting in the senior Red Bull seat for 2026. In Montreal, he totally justified that promotion. He put together a stellar drive to finish P5, actually crossing the line as the lead Red Bull car right behind the top-tier veterans. Just a fantastic drive.
Which takes us to Section 4, McLaren's Canadian nightmare. Because yeah, McLaren's weekend was a complete disaster. It started with a pretty baffling strategic gamble to throw intermediate tires on at the start of the race. That strategy gave Lando Norris the lead for exactly 1 glorious lap before it completely unraveled. Norris then suffered a terminal gearbox failure, taking him out entirely, while Oscar Piastri was handed a penalty after colliding with Alex Albon. It was just a cascade of blunders that left the reigning world champions leaving Montreal with absolutely 0 points.
Finally, Section 5, the 2026 championship picture.
When we look at the final top 10, you can see exactly why this weekend was such a generational clash. You've got the 19-year-old Antonelli up top, immediately flanked by the seasoned veterans, Hamilton, Verstappen, and Leclerc, who managed to salvage P4 for Ferrari. Right behind them is that incredible block of young talent, Hadjar, Colapinto, and Liam Lawson taking 5th through 7th, which left established names like Gasly, Sainz, and Behrman to scrap for the final few points.
Over in the constructor standings, Mercedes is basically running away with it at 219 points, riding super high on Antonelli's winning streak. Ferrari is surging into second with 147 points, largely thanks to Hamilton's vintage drive. And McLaren? Well, they are paying a heavy price for their pointless weekend, stuck in third with just 106 points.
And the driver standings are just as intense. Antonelli holds a commanding lead at 131 points, while Russell's heartbreaking DNF strands him at 88. That mechanical failure really opened the door for everyone else. Charles Leclerc at 75 points and a revitalized Lewis Hamilton at 72 points are now rapidly closing the gap for second place. Meanwhile, Lando Norris slides down to fifth with 58 points.
So, the ultimate question leaving Montreal is simply this. Can absolutely anyone stop Kimi Antonelli, or is the 2026 title already decided just 5 races in? Has Mercedes essentially locked this whole thing up? I really want to hear your thoughts. Drop your best Canadian GP headline in the comments below. Are you going with Antonelli's rise, Hamilton's comeback, or Russell's heartbreak? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.